Hey guys, what's up and welcome back, and let's talk about WandaVision again. Oh boy, oh boy. I kind of saw it coming. I'm not going to say I fully saw it. I suspected something was up. I think we talked about the dog and like something was up. But and I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to feel about it. It might be good. We've got 2 episodes left. It might be good. It might be bad. It really all depends on where it's going. I guess we'll talk about it at the end. So this week we're parodying Modern Family ? I don't know, the style with the house and everything. And I know multiple shows do the interview style format, but I'm pretty sure it's Modern Family because, well, I know the intro is clearly The Office, right? It's obviously The Office. The actual like style of the episode reminded me more of Modern Family than it did The Office. Maybe that's just me. Maybe because I don't actually watch either of those shows. So maybe it is more like The Office than I realize. But just looking at it, it felt like The Office, or it felt like Modern Family. But the intro was clearly The Office. It was obviously The Office. And I mean, that's cute and all, right? I've never seen The Office. I know that will get me crucified in some circles, but I was a How I Met Your Mother fan. How I Met Your Mother fan is still a great fucking show. Sure, the ending sucked. Yes, I'll give you that. The ending totally blew chunks. But that still doesn't erase how good the rest of the show was. Anyway, they're both better than Friends. I've never seen Modern Family, so okay, I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes, so I kind of, right. And I always think of that fucking Dan Harmon joke where he gets confused for the guy who creates Modern Family. That was always pretty funny when they go to the jail. Yeah, look that up. People have been worried that once we find out what's actually going on in WandaVision, the show's going to kind of fall apart. And yeah, kind of. Like, I'm not going to say this is a bad episode. I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot because the Vision and Darcy stuff is really funny, even if it actually has very little to do with the actual, like, plot of the episode. But the other stuff, I don't know. I think next episode, depending on how they handle this next episode, we find out if this all breaks apart or not. And it realistically could all break apart. Because I had been seeing speculation that what if the real villain of WandaVision is depression? And honestly, going into this episode, that's kind of what it felt like. That there isn't, right? I've been calling Mephisto for a while now. That, hey, what if Mephisto's the big bad villain? And I was like, yeah, right, because it's comic books. But then as we were going into this one, I was like, hey, right, because I've been seeing all these theories that, hey, what if depression is the real villain? Because that's kind of Monica and Wanda. That's both of their driving forces. So what if just the real villain is depression and that's it? And at the start of this episode with like Wanda needing to be by herself and Agatha taking the kids and her powers are kind of on the fritz, right? Vision's nowhere to be found. I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe, just maybe, depression is the real villain, which would be really interesting because it's very different than our standard like comic booky superhero affair thing. And it doesn't look like that's where this is going. But yeah, so Wanda needs some time on her own. She's basically fallen into nihilism. Like, she tells the kids about like what's going on, and she's basically fallen into nihilism. And it's actually really interesting. Again, if depression is the main villain, not like, you know what I mean, like literal depression, no metaphors here, just straight up depression, grief. whatever the fuck you want to call it. If that was our villain here, I'd be like, yeah, no, I was really into it the first half of this episode. Because the Wanda stuff out with her powers being on the fritz and her just, right, being consumed by grief and not helping at all with the kids and Agnes taking them away and, right, her powers just going crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm really into this. Meanwhile, with the Vision stuff, we've got Vision and he meets up with Darcy and he gives her memories back. I should say, yeah, Vision and Darcy don't do much in this episode. Like, at all. Like, and yeah, no, it's honestly, they're the comedic part of the episode, and it is admittedly really funny. Paul Bettany gets to show his range in this show, and he has done a fucking great job at it. And while we know Vision can do comedy, I think he's had some good lines in Age of Ultron. He had some good lines in Civil War. I guess Infinity War, kind of. But he can show he can do comedy, and the scenes with him and Darcy in this are actually really funny. Him finding out like what happened to him, that he died, and just how, right, like crazy comic books are, and like, oh, he died, then he came back to life, and then he died again, and finding out like what really happened, and like grief, right, and how Wanda had to experience all of that. That's all really good, and that's all right. It's funny and interesting, and I like Darcy's thing about like, no matter what, you're still in love. Like, you two, Wanda and Vision, still love each other. That's because when you really think about it, and other people have pointed this out, Wanda and Vision are really like the love story of the MCU. Like, yeah, there was the stuff with Natasha and Banner in the second Ultron, and there's the stuff with Sharon and Captain America, and I get, yes, again, also kind of Captain America and Carter, both of the Carters, yeah. But really, like, when it comes to like the actual like content in the movie, yeah, Wanda and Vision are kind of like the big ones. They're the love story of the MCU. Yeah, kind of, you see a little hint at it in Age of Ultron. It's definitely there in Civil War, and like that's a big part of it. And yeah, that's how we start Infinity. Well, yeah, that's basically how we start and end Infinity War. They're the love story of the MCU, and we totally see that play out in this. And yeah, Darcy basically says that in this, and yeah, I agree with it. It sucks what's going to happen, because I think, just based on everything around this, especially everything with Sword, I think Vision's not going to make it through this. Wanda might, and come out all the stronger for it, but I don't think Vision... I mean, I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong. But I kind of don't think Vision's going to make it through this. Because the fact that he can't exist outside of the Hex, he's not going to... No, he's not going to make it through this. Which sucks, because I'd love to have them both back, because they're great, right? And this show is great, and yeah, that's not what's going to happen, sadly. I'd love to be wrong. I've been wrong before, so I'd love to be wrong again here. Because yeah, just with everything that happens with the Sword agents, like, because we find out the secret the head of Sword is trying to keep is that he was trying to bring Vision back online. He was trying to bring Vision back to life because he wants, right? Monica said in, I think, the 4th episode that Sword was originally sentient weapon creation, and now they're sentient weapon response and defense or whatever. So maybe, right? So Vision was their sentient weapon, and now they're trying to like bring him. He was trying to bring him back, but then he couldn't, and Wanda could. So he wants Vision as like a sentient weapon, basically. And that looks like where they're going back to. So, and that all that stuff is why I don't think Vision's making it out of this. Oh God, could you imagine she's able to bring back the Infinity Stones? I mean, I know in the comics at one point the Power Stone got reset as a giant pink rock. I don't remember the entire context behind it. I just know that was something that happened. Yeah. Giant pink rock. Yep. So yeah, the Sword guys clearly have some sort of big plan, right? They've got something big planned for the future that they're gonna do to presume, like Monica says, burn down Westview, and yeah, that's totally possible. Meanwhile, with Monica and Wu, we see that Monica's trying to get back into the bubble. She calls some military people and they bring in a rover basically, and they're trying to like penetrate it. And it doesn't work, and the rover gets turned into like a half pickup truck, but Monica still forces her way through, and yeah, she's got superpowers now, which is actually really cool. Seeing her go through and like hearing all the voices of her past, right? Her mom. I know Fury was in there. I know Captain Marvel was in there. That's great. And then seeing her come out with superpowers and her eyes glowing blue and she can like see electricity. At least that's how I take it, is that like she can see electricity. That's really fucking cool. And then her confronting Wanda is also great because, right, Wanda pushes her back and she's able to deflect it off. Because at the end of the day, Wanda is a hero. And that's kind of right. Last week I talked about how Vision, even though he's lost his memory, he is still the guy who wielded Thor's hammer. He is still, the end of the day, a hero. And now we're kind of in this, hey, Wanda's done this terrible thing, but is she still a hero? Right? In the last episode, Pietro called her the soft twin? And are we still seeing that? Is she actually the hero? Wanda and Monica's conversation about, right, again, at this point, it looks like everything is leading up to the real villain is the ones inside our head. Grief, depression. And I was fully fucking on board with it. And then the crack. Agatha comes in, takes Wanda away. Wanda goes to her house, right? The kids aren't anywhere to be seen. She goes into the basement. She finds creepy ruins, but there's also some sort of evil book thing. And there was a china cabinet with like red in it that probably means something. And then we find out, hey, guess what? Agatha has magic, and Agatha is evil, I guess. And she gets her whole like Munsters style, like Agatha's the villain all along, because yeah, we're in the present day, so there's no more modern day sitcoms to parody, so we might as well go back to the start, right? Episode ends with the reveal that yeah, Agatha is the villain, and I don't know how to feel about it. Now, I haven't read the comics. I've read some comics. I don't remember anything with Agatha in it, but I'll put a link, I don't know, like somewheres down in the description as well, that about the Comic Drake video. Go check that out for a good explanation, because he does his due diligence, and go check that out for like who Agatha is and like the whole demon baby thing. And but yeah, so Agatha, from what I remember of that video, because I haven't seen it in a while, Agatha isn't a villain. She was like the Avengers babysitter. She taught Wanda magic. And I'm fine with Agatha being a magic user, right? We know, right, with Sorcerer Supreme, all that jazz. There's that guy in the second Guardians of the Galaxy who uses magic. Magic users exist in the MCU. I'm fine with that. Agatha pulling all the strings from the entire time, I don't know about that. I kind of like the idea that still kind of in Grief is the villain. Because based on Wanda's initial reaction to this whole thing, it kind of feels like it all started subconsciously. That she didn't mean to create this bubble, this hex or Nexus or whatever the fuck it's called. She didn't mean to do this. It just kind of happened, and now she's in too deep. And she made the thing grow even bigger, and it's clear that she can't control it anymore, and maybe that's part of why her powers are on the fritz. But the idea that Agatha's like behind it all, and that Agatha's like the real big bad, I guess it's just like, and I know I was like, oh, Mephisto something. Mephisto's coming, right? That's gonna happen. And I think she might be trying to summon Mephisto. Like, there's the evil spellbook thing with the red glowingness on it. I think she's trying to summon Mephisto. I could be wrong. But if I'm going to guess, that's where we're going with this. And the kids are pieces of demon baby, I guess, again. We're doing that again. I was just starting to buy into the depression's the real villain, because depression is the real villain. And I just think the stuff with Monica and that conversation right beforehand with Monica and Wanda is way more interesting. This is the point where everything cracks. So it's either, hey, we go this way or we go that way, and it will either all fall apart or who knows. I think this is our make or break point. Next week, it either all falls apart or maybe the real villain was the friends we lost along the way. They pulled the rug away from under us. So I'm not disappointed. I still like the episode. And again, everything that leads to the ending, I think is really good. Even though the Vision stuff doesn't matter, maybe it'll will in the grander scheme, but it was more of like the comedic to all the nihilism that came before it. I use nihilism in the loosest possible, like, Disney terms. But we'll see, because we've got all these different stories that are all now starting to converge. And it all just depends where we end up, right? So far, I still really enjoy the show. I'm still having a blast. I'm still, every week, I'm like, oh, it's not like we had a Nintendo Direct a few days ago, and going to bed that night, it was like the night before Christmas, where it was like, oh, a Nintendo Direct. Oh, this is going to be great. And then the Nintendo Direct was just good, not great. But it still felt like the night before Christmas, right? Where like you're all excited and everything. And WandaVision, honestly, maybe it's just because I'm starved for MCU content, but it's kind of that same thing where it's just kind of like, oh, you're excited, right? Oh. And then it's like, oh, how long is this episode going to be? Because I'd heard a rumor that episodes were going to start being an hour long. And I guess that was a fake rumor, and this week's episode was the same as all the others, but who knows? Maybe they'll have to wrap everything up in like an hour-long episode. That'd be really cool. It's the MCU. I'm gonna have to put I know it's been a long time, and I know we've been doing this for over a decade now, but they've proven themselves. I hopefully they can do it again. And I mean, I saw the MCU schedule a few days ago. We have MCU content for the rest of the year. Literally, I think every week except for like 4 weeks or something like that, we have content for the rest of the year. We have an entire schedule of Marvel content literally every week for the rest of the year. Will all of that come out? Like, will Black Widow actually come out, or will they just delay it again, or will they just finally put it on fucking Disney Plus? Who knows? We'll see. It's keeping us busy, and I'm enjoying it for the moment. When will I get sick of it? I don't know. Probably around the time Shang-Chi comes out. But who knows? This might all turn out. This might all turn out for the best. We'll see. We shall see. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time. Peace.